the most wanted Skylanders crossovers. Basically, a while ago, I made a video talking about my personal most wanted Skylanders crossovers, and then I posted a poll, and then in the comments of that video, you guys basically put a bunch of suggestions of what Skylanders you would want to see as crossovers. So today, I'm going to be going over pretty much all of them. Now, there are going to be some exceptions. Don't be mad if I didn't put yours in, but for the most part, I put in the most popular ones and the ones that I agree with the most. Also, if you posted and basically said something that like I didn't even know what the character was or something along the lines of that, or I really didn't think they fit at all, then I'm not going to mention them in this video. For the most part, I do have a bunch to go over. So without further ado, let's get right into it with the most wanted crossover Skylanders. Just to recap last video in case you guys didn't see it, and because these Skylanders are not going to be in this video, so it would make it kind of confusing and some people might request them. But in the last one, I said that I wanted to see Ratchet and Clank, Garchomp, Optimus Prime, Link from The Legend of Zelda, and I wanted to see Kratos from God of War. So those are the 5 that I had in the last video, but for this one we have a bunch more. The first one I want to mention is Banjo and Kazooie. This was pretty much the first ever comment that I got on the community post, and honestly I can definitely see it happening. Banjo and Kazooie is already like in Smash Bros, which means that obviously the developers are open to crossovers, so I think this would work pretty well. I think he fits the Skylanders art style, and he could definitely fit the life element as a pretty cool Skylander. I'm pretty sure he's a bear, and then he's got a bird that he obviously swings around, does some pretty funny stuff with, so I think this would work really well. Now the next one is actually Ganondorf from Zelda. I'm not sure like which exact variation of Ganondorf would be the best. Personally, the one I want the most is the one from Tears of the Kingdom. I think this is the coolest one. But I mean, you've got Toon Ganondorf from the Wind Waker, or you can go with the one from Twilight Princess. Honestly, all of them look really cool in my opinion, so I don't really have a crazy preference. I do think Ganondorf would be really cool though. You can make him a brawler, a smasher, a knight. There's a lot of different options, but dark element is definitely going to be the best for him. Now next up is going to be Sonic. Sonic I think would also be pretty cool in Skylanders, and he very clearly fits the art style. He would fit in pretty nicely with all the other Skylanders and would honestly look pretty good. Like, he would work pretty well. There's no really element that like stands out immediately as clearly being the best option for him, but if there was something like a speed element, that would obviously work perfectly, but that doesn't exist, so I'm not totally sure on the element. But Sonic would have a really cool moveset, and he's in Smash Bros, which obviously being in Smash Bros I think definitely helps out for this list. Now the next one up is Mario. Mario is pretty straightforward. I mean, you had 2 characters from the Mario series already come out in Superchargers, so I think that Mario would be a pretty cool addition. You could give him a pretty cool moveset using all of his different power-ups that he's had throughout the series, such as the Fire Flower, the Ice Flower, etc. It would actually be really cool. And as far as elements, I'm not totally sure. If they were to focus mainly on his fire, then they could make him Fire Element. If they were mainly to focus on his ice, they could make him Water Element. Not totally sure, but I think there's a lot of possibilities with Mario, and I think he'd work pretty well. Now the next one up is a pretty random one, but one that I saw and I was like, dang, I think that would work pretty well, and that is actually Batman. Batman I think would be pretty dang cool if they put him in Skylanders. As someone who already said that like Optimus Prime and Kratos would be really cool, I could see Batman working too. If they gave him, they could either go with some sort of cartoonish art style and make him look kind of like he did in the game Multiverses, or they could go with something that accurately represents what we see from him in live action, or with sort of the darker tone that Batman has. Either way, he would be really cool with his batarangs I think they're called, and his cape. He would have some pretty cool moves. I think he would be a really good tech or dark, possibly even brawler. I think it would work really well for him. So Batman is another one that I do want to mention. Now next up we got Rayman. This is someone who I didn't really think about at all, but I've played some of his games in the past and they're pretty cool. I haven't played as him in a while, so I'm not totally sure about his moveset, but he does give me like pretty distinct like Crash Bandicoot vibes. I think he'd be like another life brawler that sort of has the same overall vibe as Crash Bandicoot, so I think he would work well, but I don't think he would have been in the same game as Crash Bandicoot just because they're very similar characters. Now next up is just kind of Pokemon in general. Like, there's so many different Pokemon that you could use. I even mentioned one of these in my previous video. I said Garchomp is one that I wanted to see the most, but I did see someone say that he would be pretty similar to Terrafin, which I can definitely agree with. He would be similar to Terrafin. I didn't even think about that. But a couple of the Pokemon that I do want to mention are Pikachu. Obviously, I mean, this guy's like the mascot of Pokemon. He would work really well. They could probably pull off maybe tech type just because he has his electricity, but I don't know, his type of electricity doesn't really fit into air or tech, which is kind of where most electricity goes, so not totally sure about him. But Pikachu would have a cool moveset between his tail and his lightning based attacks. And then two other ones which are two newer Gen 9 Pokemon, Armarouge and Ceruledge. I think these would actually both be pretty cool, and someone did mention these. I've used them both in my Pokemon playthroughs, and they are pretty cool Pokemon, and I think you could fit them in pretty well. They'd both be fire. Ceruledge might even be dark, not totally sure, but I think these Skylanders would actually be, I think they would be pretty cool as Skylanders. You could make Armarouge possibly a Bazooka or a Quick Shot, and then Ceruledge definitely fits a swashbuckler typing. I think this combo, I think this would be actually pretty cool to have in Skylanders. Now next up is going to be Pac-Man. Pac-Man's, I mean, this is another one that isn't Smash Bros, so it's too far-fetched to see him come to Skylanders, and he just fits the vibe overall. Whether you wanted to go with some sort of classic looking like arcade Pac-Man or the more modern versions that we've seen with modern day media where he actually has like a full 3D render and all that, I don't know, it's up to Activision, but they would probably go with the more modern one, and I think it fits Skylanders more overall. You'd have a pretty cool moveset. I mean, you can look at him in Smash, he has a lot of different abilities and a lot of different ideas for attacks that really worked out. He could even implement the ghost if he wanted to, so I think Pac-Man would work pretty well. And the next up is going to be Star Fox. This is yet another one from Smash Bros, so clearly there's some correlation between Skylanders that work in Smash, or characters that work in Smash and characters that will also work in Skylanders. And so Star Fox, yeah, I mean he's really cool. I've played as him in Starlink Battle for Atlas, I can say that, and I played as him in Smash Bros obviously, and he has a really fun moveset in that game, and I think there's a lot they could do with this character, and I think they were already planning on possibly having this guy in Skylanders. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think he might have been one of the crossover Skylanders they consider for Superchargers, so I think he would work pretty well if I'm being honest. Now next up, this is probably one of the coolest ones. This would be an Xbox exclusive, or it would just be across all consoles, and that's Master Chief. Master Chief just seems super cool, and I would have absolutely loved to have this guy in Skylanders. Obviously he has more of a mature route to his character, so he doesn't exactly fit the super child friendly theming that we see with Skylanders, so I'm not sure how realistic he is, but he does seem like someone who would be pretty dang awesome to have in Skylanders, and I know that I would play as Master Chief all the time. You could make a pretty cool moveset out of him because in the games he has so many different weapons. When you're playing Halo online, I mean, there's like countless different weapons you can use, so I think this guy would be really fun. They could make a really intricate moveset out of him. He was to have a element, probably tech makes the most sense, and a battle class, definitely Quick Shot, maybe even Bazooka. I'm not totally sure, but they could do a lot with Master Chief. I think it'd be pretty cool. Now next up is going to be Cuphead. Cuphead, I've only ever played a couple times, but I think it's really cool. I think it's an iconic enough and well-liked character that it would actually work in Skylanders. From the few times that I've used him, I've had pretty fun times in his game, and he has a few unique ideas that could definitely be interpreted into some sort of moveset that would work with Skylanders, and obviously his design and art style will very much fit the child-friendly theming, and I think this guy would just be pretty cool overall, and I don't really know anyone who dislikes him. Now next up is going to be Yoshi. Yoshi is obviously, I mean, it's another character from Smash Bros, but Yoshi will work pretty well. I think he has some fun moves. The concept of him turning into an egg would work pretty well with Skylanders, and you could definitely make a cool moveset out of that. He could possibly roll around in it, something like that. He could definitely fit the life element. There might be some other elements that he could fit. I'm not totally sure. They'd probably make him life. They could also make a pretty unique concept out of him sort of sticking his tongue to enemies and pulling them in and doing something with that. I think would actually be pretty cool to see, but I'm not totally sure. There's a bunch of different possibilities that they could explore with this guy's moveset, so I think Yoshi is another really nice option. Now next up is going to be possibly the most requested one, which is Kirby. Kirby would be actually really cool. His moveset in Smash Brothers is already really fun, and he can just suck in enemies and then he can gain their ability, which I think would be fantastic if that was implemented into Skylanders, but I don't know if they would use quite that much development time on him to be able to, you know, take in the ability of any other enemy and be able to use it, so I'm not totally sure how that would work, but I think Kirby would be really cool nonetheless. He has just a fun, kid-friendly design that you could actually make a pretty cool moveset out of, which we obviously see with Smash Brothers. He has a really solid moveset in that game, and there's a bunch of different attacks he'd be able to use. Maybe he could even have a reference to other Mario characters or other Skylanders within his moveset, as if at some point in time he absorb their abilities. So I think Kirby would work pretty well. Now next up is going to be kind of a crazy one, but this is Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse would actually be really cool in Skylanders, and it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to see it because we did see Sora, which is the main character in the Disney game Kingdom Hearts, and he was in Smash Bros. So I think it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to see Mickey Mouse come to a Skylanders game, and I think he would be pretty cool. I mean, there's a bunch of different designs you could use for this guy, but I think the most common one is I feel like just a plain like black outline of him would be pretty cool, and he could have pretty much whatever moveset you want him to have. I think maybe life or possibly light or possibly even dark could work, or magic even. Like, you could pretty much give this guy any element you wanted, and you would be able to figure out a moveset that would work well for him. So I think Mickey Mouse would be pretty cool, and there's a bunch of different possibilities for him, and he's just a super, like, he's one of the most popular like faces of media of all time. So I think Mickey Mouse would be incredibly cool to have in Skylanders. Now, next up is going to be Sackboy. This is a PlayStation exclusive, and it would actually be pretty cool. We don't really have any Skylanders with any design like somewhat close to this at all, so I think this would actually be pretty cool, and it does actually fit the Skylanders sort of theming, and you could definitely create a pretty cool moveset around this guy, and I think he would just be fun to use, and he's definitely someone who I think is like kids would be attracted to this design and want to get and want to play as him because he just looks like a fun little guy, and I don't know anyone who wouldn't want to play as this guy if he was a Skylander. Now, the last one up is going to be Luigi. This one is pretty straightforward. I mean, if you're going to have Mario in the game, you got to have Luigi too, and this would be pretty cool. I think if they gave Mario the fire flower and then they gave Luigi the ice flower, that would actually be pretty cool. Make one fire element, one water element, and that would be a pretty cool combo to have. Luigi you could go with a lot of different routes, pretty similar to Mario, but he's got a already really funny, unique moveset in Smash Bros, and so I think you could definitely take elements from that and incorporate them into whatever you're looking for out of a Skylanders moveset. So I think I think Luigi would be a pretty cool option. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. These are obviously just ones that I thought would work well, and these definitely came from my community, so shout out to anyone who gave me these amazing suggestions for this video, because they honestly worked out pretty well, and I actually am a big fan of a lot of them, so thank you guys very much. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to like it, do all that stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. So long, guys.